World War II vintage, maybe 1942 or 43 head stamp, and it was repackaged at the Hawthorn Ammunition Depot in 1950. So let's see how this comes apart. Hey, it was vacuum sealed. You could actually see the can kind of suck open. Denver Ordnance plant. This stuff is supposed to be very good. It's got a code, and finally on the bottom it says repacked HAW, which the HAW stands for the Hawthorn Ammunition Depot, which is the largest ammunition depot in the world. Here's a picture of one of the boxes. Here's what a head stamp looks like. Get it in focus, a little more light. It says DEN 1943. You'll notice that it's got red primer sealer, heavy crimp. Looks like really good brass. They've been annealed. And this should be like 152 grain full metal jacket. It does attract a magnet. It has a steel core, and M2 ammunition works very well through the Garand. Corrosive priming, because this ammunition having a head stamp of 1943, they were still using corrosive primers. They didn't do away with corrosive primers until about 1950, between 50 and 55. I think they wanted a drop-off point of no longer using corrosive priming in 1950, but because they had such a large collection of corrosive primers, they finally used up all of them by about 1955. The Denver Ordnance plant created an awful lot of ammunition. Total over all of the different factories, I think it was in excess of 11 billion .30-06 rounds that were created. So here we are at Vernon National with our M2 ball made at the Denver Ordnance plant, and got Remington 700 .30-06. Has a Redfield rangefinder on it. Temperature right now is about 8 degrees, and we have about 20-mile-an-hour winds. There's two. Three. One of the things that we discussed earlier on in the video was the fact that this Denver ammunition was actually corrosive primed. And if you understand how corrosive primers can damage firearm, it's pretty simple. What it does is it will deposit a acidic salt within the bore and any area that comes in contact with the byproduct of the primer. So the first thing that I did when I got this back after shooting today was I took a little Windex, I tipped the gun up so the bore is facing down towards the floor, and I squirted Windex down the barrel, which has ammonia and water, and that flushed out as many of the salts as possible. After I did that for maybe 5 minutes, was about all the time that I took a jag and I ran it down through to push whatever salts were in there. I repeated that twice. After that, I went into the normal procedure that I would do if I was cleaning out a black powder firearm, which if you guys have watched my videos in the past, you notice I use rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol has a solvent, as well as a portion of rubbing alcohol has water. So the water, between the water and the solvent, that removes the rest of the salts and the rest, any of the carbon that's in there. Not all of it, but it gets enough of it out. So now you can go over and start to clean in a conventional fashion. Part of the fun of this, getting military surplus ammunition, is the packaging. And if you take a look at these boxes, I mean, they just look so authentic for the time. Like this is 1950. And, you know, Harry Truman was the president, and, you know, you could buy a car for, you know, a couple $100. And here's another example of something a little later, probably the 80s. For the civilian marksman, I showed you this in other videos. This was packaged by Talon Manufacturing. And the one I like, which is like one of my favorites, this is a, we've talked about the M2, this is the M72 match, and look at how it is packaged. And you can see right there the bullets are 173 grains. They got stated velocities on them, and this is all Lake City stuff as well. And just look at the eagle on the other side of that. So I'm having a ball here making videos, and I appreciate you guys watching my videos. And from time to time, I run out of material, and I really appreciate you hanging in there with me. And we're probably halfway, if not 3/4 of the way through the winter in upstate New York, but we really got hammered the last couple of days. But once the weather breaks, I'm going to be back out there and probably be doing a little bit more with the 30-06. So stay tuned, and I appreciate you watching.